thrive, there were whispers of an ancient myth. It was a story told only in hushed tones, often dismissed as nothing more than a legend, a tale passed down from generation to generation. This myth was about a planet far from the center of the galaxy, a world called Earth, inhabited by a species known as humans. To the Galactic Council, Earth was a forgotten planet. It was a world so primitive that it hadn't even made contact with the rest of the galaxy. The Council had long since written off Earth and its inhabitants, assuming that the humans were nothing more than a simple, unimportant species. The humans were considered myths, stories told by travelers and old records that had faded into obscurity. They were nothing more than a footnote in the history of the universe. But there was one thing that lingered in the minds of the few who still spoke of Earth. There were rumors, old whispers of strange human feats, tales of their unwavering spirit, and resilience in the face of adversity. These stories were filled with wonder, and to some, they were more than just myths. They spoke of a race that, against all odds, could rise and fight. But these stories were considered nothing more than fantasies, until the day they would come to life. On the edge of the galaxy, at the heart of the Galactic Council, representatives from countless advanced civilizations gathered. They had never seen Earth for themselves, and they didn't care to. The humans had been isolated for millennia, and the galaxy had moved on without them. Earth was a backwater world with no place in the grand design of the universe. But then, something changed. It started with a strange transmission. At first, it was dismissed as an anomaly, perhaps some old message left behind by explorers long forgotten. However, the signals were consistent, unlike anything the galaxy had ever encountered. There were strange patterns, like a message hidden beneath the static, something that spoke directly to the heart of those who received it. The Galactic Council was intrigued, but they were also dismissive. After all, Earth wasn't a place they had ever needed to worry about. So why would they now? But curiosity lingered in the air. There were murmurs among some members of the Council who had heard the tales. Some believed that the humans might hold some kind of power, something that had been hidden for centuries. But for most, it was still just a myth. And yet, the transmission continued. It grew louder, more defined, until one day, the Council received a message they couldn't ignore. It was simple, but chilling. We are coming. At first, the message was cryptic, but as the days passed, more transmissions came through, all from Earth. They were coming. The humans were preparing to make contact. The galaxy was in for something it had never imagined, something it had long since dismissed. The Council was shaken. For centuries, they had ruled the galaxy without challenge. The thought of a simple, forgotten race from a backwater planet posing any kind of threat was laughable. But this new message, this new development, had changed everything. There was no ignoring it any longer. The stories, the myths that had been passed down through generations, began to seem real. What had once been considered fiction was now becoming an undeniable truth. The humans were real. They were coming. And they weren't just coming to say hello. On the outskirts of the galaxy, in the darkest corners of space, human ships began to move. The Council had no idea how, but Earth had somehow managed to send ships into space. These ships were small, barely recognizable by galactic standards, and yet they moved with precision. Their intentions were unknown, but they were unmistakable. It was said that the humans were a race driven by emotions, anger, passion, and above all, a fierce desire to survive. The stories told of their wars, their victories, and their defeats. But even in the darkest moments, humanity had never given up. They had always fought back, no matter the odds. And now, as the first human fleet appeared on the horizon, those ancient stories seemed to come to life before the Council's very eyes. The first signals they received from the fleet were strange, almost primitive. They didn't speak the common galactic tongue, and their ships were rudimentary compared to the fleets of the advanced civilizations. But the humans were coming. There was no denying it. And then, something truly shocking happened. Galaxy. It wasn't the size or strength of the fleet that caused concern, it was the force of will behind it. The humans, those once thought to be nothing more than a footnote in galactic history, had arrived. The legends were real. The humans were more than just a myth. They were here. The galaxy would never be the same again. As the first human ships crossed into galactic space, a message was sent to the Galactic Council. We're here, and we're not going anywhere. It was the first time in centuries that the galaxy had faced an unknown force. A force that, despite its humble beginnings, had proven itself capable of unimaginable things. The humans had arrived, and they would not be ignored. The galaxy, once united in its superiority, now faced a new challenge. The humans, the myths, had become a reality. And the universe would soon learn that underestimating humanity had been its greatest mistake. The stage was set. The galaxy had believed that the legends of humans were nothing more than stories. But as the human fleet approached, the truth would soon become undeniable. Humanity was real, and they were ready to fight. The humans had arrived, but they did not come in peace. Not at first. The Galactic Council was caught off guard. They had always ruled with an iron grip, and no one had ever dared challenge them. The Council, a conglomerate of the most powerful and ancient species in the galaxy, had always been the ones in control. They held the power, and they had shaped the galaxy to their will. But the appearance of the human fleet sent shockwaves through the galaxy. The ships, small but maneuverable, cut through space with startling precision. No one had expected this. How could they have? Earth was a distant, insignificant planet that the galaxy had long since forgotten. The humans were supposed to be nothing more than myths. Yet, as the human ships neared the heart of the galaxy, the unthinkable happened. They didn't just enter galactic space, they navigated it like veterans. Their fleet was not large, but each ship was equipped with technology that rivaled the most advanced of galactic civilizations. It wasn't just their ships that were a mystery, it was the humans themselves. The Galactic Council had sent a fleet to intercept them, but when they met the humans on the outskirts of the galaxy, something strange occurred. The human ships didn't retreat or hesitate. Instead, they stood their ground. There was no fear, no sign of weakness. Just an unshakable determination. As the human fleet approached the Council's border, the Council issued a warning. They demanded that the humans identify themselves, explain their intentions, and follow galactic protocol. But when the humans responded, their message was simple. We are Earth, and we will not be intimidated. The Council could hardly believe their ears. Earth. The humans had never even been on the radar. How could they be this bold? And yet, their response was clear. They weren't here to ask for permission or beg for acceptance. They were here because they had made their own way in the galaxy, and they had come to show the universe that they were not the weak, helpless species everyone thought them to be. The first face-to-face contact between the humans and the Galactic Council was nothing short of dramatic. Representatives from dozens of species assembled in a vast council chamber where they awaited the arrival of the humans. The atmosphere was tense, filled with uncertainty. The humans, despite their reputation as warriors, had always been seen as primitive. Their technology, at least from the perspective of the Galactic Council, was underdeveloped. But as the humans entered the chamber, there was a palpable shift in the air. Their presence was undeniable. They walked in confidently, eyes unwavering, their stance radiating strength. It wasn't their appearance that intimidated the Council. It was their sheer will. The leader of the Galactic Council, a being of immense size and power, spoke first. "Why have you come, humans? Do you seek to challenge us?" The humans did not flinch. The commander of the human fleet stepped forward, his gaze meeting the council leaders. The mistake of underestimating humanity. The room fell silent. The council had never heard such words before. How dare this species, so far removed from the rest of the galaxy, speak to them in such a manner? The arrogance was unimaginable. But the humans weren't done. One of the human commanders stepped forward and presented a message, a challenge of sorts. They offered to prove humanity's strength, not just through words, but through action. They would show the galaxy that they were not just a species of myths and legends. They were survivors, and they would fight for their place in the stars. The message sent ripples throughout the council. Some representatives found themselves laughing, dismissing the humans as nothing more than a fluke. How could they, a species from a primitive world, hope to stand against the most advanced civilizations in the galaxy? But others, the more cautious members of the council, began to look at the humans differently. They saw something that others didn't. A fire, a determination that set them apart from every other species in the galaxy. There was something in the way the humans carried themselves, something primal, something undeniably powerful. And then, the humans proved their point. The Council's fleet, a vast and powerful force, arrived at Earth's doorstep, ready to impose their dominance. But as they neared the planet, they encountered something unexpected, an ancient human weapon. It wasn't something the humans had shown the galaxy before. It was something older, something hidden deep within the core of Earth's history. The weapon was nothing like the galactic technology the Council had grown accustomed to. It wasn't sleek or refined, but it was powerful beyond measure. And when it fired, it sent a message to the galaxy. Never underestimate humanity. The Galactic Council's fleet was thrown into chaos as the humans demonstrated the power of their weapon. It wasn't just a show of force, it was a statement. The humans weren't here to play games. They weren't here to be part of some galactic experiment. They were here to survive. And if anyone stood in their way, they would fight until the very end. The Council was stunned. They had never expected this. The humans were more than just a race of myths. They were a force to be reckoned with. And as the first wave of humans prepared to enter galactic space, it became clear the universe had made a grave mistake in underestimating them. And now, the galaxy would have to learn the hard way. The humans were no longer just a legend. They were a reality. A reality that no one, not even the mightiest empire in the galaxy, could ignore. The shockwave from humanity's demonstration rippled through the galaxy, sending a message that the galaxy's most powerful beings could not ignore. The Council, initially dismissive of Earth's involvement in galactic affairs, now found itself scrambling to reassess its stance. They had faced many challenges in the past, but nothing quite like this. For the first time in galactic history, an unassuming species from a distant world had shown that it could hold its own against the might of the Council's most powerful fleets. The Council, composed of the galaxy's most influential and ancient races, was shaken to its core. How had the humans, with their primitive technology, become such a formidable force? The galaxy, a place filled with wonders and dangers, was often at peace. The balance of power had been established, and it had remained undisturbed for millennia. Each species knew its place, and there was little room for challenges. The idea of a species from a planet so far removed from the galactic core challenging the status quo was laughable to many. Yet, here the humans stood, as defiant as ever, and their strength was undeniable. The Galactic Council had only one option left: test humanity's resolve. A battle was inevitable. A confrontation between the galaxy's mightiest forces and the humans could not be avoided, not now. A sense of unease settled over the council members, as they knew that their next move would determine their future relationship with humanity, and possibly their very survival. The arena of battle. The council's forces were vast, a galaxy-spanning fleet that could overwhelm any planet with ease. However, the humans weren't like any enemy the council had faced. They didn't rely on sheer numbers or advanced weaponry. Instead, it was their unity and ingenuity that made them dangerous. They were resourceful, unyielding, and resilient, qualities that the galaxy's elite had underestimated. sides would demonstrate their military capabilities. It would be a contest, a way to determine who had the upper hand. The location was chosen. A barren, desolate world far from any major population centers, a place where the risk of collateral damage would be minimal. The battle would be fought in space, where both fleets could maneuver freely without the threat of destruction to civilian populations. The human fleet, now equipped with the advanced technology they had developed in secret, was ready. Though small in number, the humans were determined, their resolve unshakable. They knew this was their moment to prove themselves. This was their chance to show the galaxy that they were no longer a species to be laughed at. They had been underestimated for too long, and now they would make their mark. The Galactic Council's forces arrived first, massive ships that gleamed under the light of distant stars. The sheer size and power of their fleet was enough to make even the most battle-hardened warriors pause. Yet the humans did not falter. They had a single mission: survive and win. Their fleet, though smaller, was swift and efficient. Every ship, every soldier was prepared for this moment. As the two fleets faced off across the cold, silent expanse of space, tension was palpable. The Council had sent its best commanders, confident that they would easily crush the humans. They had prepared for everything, or so they thought. But what they didn't realize was that humanity had a hidden advantage: their fierce determination, their will to fight against all odds. The battle unfolds. The first wave of attacks began with the humans making a bold move. They launched their advanced fighters into the fray, maneuvering through the vast emptiness with speed and precision. The human ships zipped in and out of enemy fire, dodging and weaving with expert coordination. The Council's fleets had powerful weapons, but the humans had learned how to outmaneuver them, using the ship's smaller size to their advantage. At first, the Council underestimated the human strategy. They believed that the fight would be over quickly, that their superior firepower would dominate the battlefield. However, the humans were relentless. Every attack they launched was calculated. Every move they made had purpose. It wasn't just about defeating the enemy. It was about sending a message that humanity was not to be trifled with. As the battle raged on, the humans began to strike at the Council's vulnerable points. Their ships, designed for agility and stealth, found weak spots in the Council's fleet. The first few shots were precise, taking out key defense systems. Slowly, the Council's seemingly invincible fleet started to falter. The humans were relentless, pushing forward despite the overwhelming odds. Their fleet, though smaller, held their ground, each soldier fighting not just for victory, but for their very survival. The tide of battle was turning, and the Council began to realize that they were facing an enemy unlike any they had encountered before. The humans weren't just fighting to win. They were fighting to survive, to prove that they could stand toe-to-toe with the greatest powers in the galaxy. And with every blow they struck, the Galactic Council's pride and confidence began to crack. As the battle continued, the humans gained ground. Their tactics were unconventional, unpredictable, and far more effective than the Council had anticipated. The humans weren't just fighting with weapons. They were fighting with their hearts, their minds, and their unbreakable will to survive. By the end of the battle, the Galactic Council's fleet was significantly damaged. The humans had won, but the real victory wasn't in the destruction of the fleet. It was in the message they sent to the galaxy. The humans had shown the galaxy that they were no longer a myth. They had proven that they were a force to be reckoned with, and no one, not even the most powerful empires in the galaxy, could ignore that fact any longer. For the first time in history, humanity had earned its place in the stars, and the galaxy would never forget the lesson they had learned. The humans were here to stay, and they were not to be underestimated. News of humanity's unexpected triumph spread faster than the speed of light, igniting a firestorm of discussion, debate, and fear. The galaxy had long believed that Earth and its people were nothing more than a distant, primitive species, their existence barely worthy of notice. Now, that perception had been shattered. The Galactic Council, embarrassed by their failure to crush the humans, began to take immediate action. They knew that the balance of power had been disrupted, and that something had to be done to contain this new threat before it grew beyond their control. Humanity's defeat of their most powerful fleet was not just a fluke. It was a statement, one that could not be ignored. Representatives from the most powerful factions across the galaxy were called to an emergency summit. The alliance of Starborn, the militaristic Dracouri, and the peaceful Nera all joined forces to find a solution to the human problem. Their previous dismissive attitude toward Earth had been replaced with a mix of anxiety and apprehension. They knew that humanity was not a species that could be easily controlled. After all, they had just proved their mettle by surviving and winning a battle against some of the most advanced forces in the galaxy. The Council's military leaders had underestimated them, an error they would never make again. Earth, however, remained blissfully unaware of the full scale of the galaxy's response. The humans had won the battle, but they did not know the war was far from over. While their victory had been a cause for celebration, it had also made them a target for every powerful species that now viewed them as a threat. Back on Earth, military strategists and political leaders were hard at work, processing the events of the battle. They had been victorious, but they also knew that the galactic powers would not let this stand without retaliation. Earth had made its mark, but at what cost? The military leaders gathered in a war room, the tension in the air palpable. General Thompson, the commander-in-chief of Earth's military, stood before a large holographic map of the galaxy, his mind racing with the implications of what had just transpired. Earth's fleet had proven itself capable of fighting back, but it wasn't enough. Humanity had won the battle, but what about the war? The galaxy's most powerful fleets would undoubtedly come for them next. The question was, how could humanity defend itself from an entire galaxy that now saw them as a formidable enemy? "We've made our stand, but this is only the beginning," General Thompson said gravely. "They won't leave us alone. We've made a statement, but now we must prepare for the consequences." His words hung heavy in the air. The victory was bittersweet. The galaxy's most powerful fleets had been humbled, but the humans had made themselves a target. They had awakened a sleeping giant, and now the galaxy would demand retribution. The first signs of retaliation. Weeks passed after the battle, and the humans continued to rebuild, unaware of the storm that was brewing. Earth's government, led by President Valerie Williams, had made it clear that the human race would not back down. The victory over the Council's fleet had sent a message of strength and unity. But what they didn't realize was that the galaxy was far from ready to let them have their moment of glory. The first signs of retaliation came in the form of small, seemingly unimportant skirmishes. Mysterious alien ships began to appear near Earth's outer defense perimeter, testing human forces. At first, the humans thought it was just a coincidence, an isolated incident. But as more and more ships appeared, it became clear that the galaxy's retaliation had begun. The small skirmishes quickly escalated into larger battles. The galactic powers, not willing to accept humanity's newfound place in the galaxy, began to send fleets to challenge Earth's growing defenses. But the humans, determined not to let their hard-earned victory slip away, fought back fiercely. A new war was unfolding, one that would pit humanity against the galaxy's most advanced civilizations. The humans had won one battle, but the war was far from over. Every victory came at a price, and every encounter with the alien fleets only fueled their desire to protect their homeworld. A new kind of warfare. As the galaxy's fleets gathered for an all-out assault on Earth, humanity's military leadership knew that they could no longer rely on traditional tactics. The vast expanse of space, the enormous scale of the galaxy, and the advanced technologies of their enemies made it impossible to simply fight their way to victory. This would be a war of strategy, ingenuity, and adaptability. The humans had to become unpredictable, and they had to do it fast. tech, but the humans needed something more to hold their own against the alien forces. They began working with the remnants of the captured alien ships from the previous battle, reverse engineering them for their own use. A new fleet of human-designed ships was born, sleeker, faster, and armed with alien weaponry. However, this wasn't just about technology. Humans' greatest strength had always been their adaptability, and now that strength would be tested like never before. Earth's military quickly began to innovate, developing strategies that used the terrain of space to their advantage. Human tactics, though unconventional, proved to be highly effective against the well-established and rigid strategies of their enemies. In the face of overwhelming odds, humanity began to turn the tide. The galaxy's most powerful fleets had underestimated Earth's ability to adapt and evolve. They had made one mistake. They thought they could easily destroy a species that was so young, so unrefined. But in that underestimation, the galaxy had awakened something far more dangerous than they could have ever anticipated. Earth's forces, fueled by determination, would not back down, and the galaxy would soon realize that humanity was not to be trifled with. The greatest war the galaxy had ever seen was about to unfold, and humanity would lead the charge. The final test of strength was approaching, and the fate of humanity would be decided in the stars. The galaxy's reckoning was inevitable. The war between humanity and the galaxy's most powerful civilizations raged on, each side suffering heavy losses. The humans, with their unyielding spirit and adaptability, continued to defy expectations. Yet, as the battles grew fiercer and the stakes higher, a new possibility emerged, one that no one had anticipated. It began with an unexpected transmission from the Drakari Empire, one of the galaxy's most formidable military powers. Their fleets had been part of the original galactic assault on Earth, and they had witnessed firsthand the ferocity and resilience of the humans. At first, Earth's leaders were skeptical. How could an empire known for its brutal conquests possibly offer an alliance? But the transmission was clear. The Drakari, once enemies of Earth, now saw humanity as a force to be reckoned with, and they feared that if the galactic powers didn't change their course, the entire galaxy could spiral into endless conflict. The Drakari Empire, it seemed, was ready to shift allegiances. Their leader, Emperor Zorith, had come to the realization that the galaxy's growing obsession with wiping out humanity was dangerous, even for the most powerful species in the galaxy. "You have shown us that the galaxy is not as invincible as we once thought," Emperor Zorith's message began. "Your victory has opened our eyes. We offer you a truce. Together, we can stop this madness before it consumes us all." The message shook Earth's leadership. Could they trust the Drakari? It was a gamble, one that could either be humanity's salvation or its downfall. But the alternative, continuing the war against a galaxy that was rapidly uniting against them, was a risk far too great to ignore. General Thompson, who had led humanity's military efforts from the start, convened with President Valerie Williams and the Joint Defense Council. They discussed the potential alliance with the Drakari at length. It was clear that the Drakari, despite their violent history, could bring valuable resources and strategic advantages to Earth's defense. But could they really trust an empire that had once tried to wipe them out? "We don't have many options left," General Thompson said, his voice low but firm. "We can't win this war alone. If we want to survive, we need to accept help wherever we can find it." President Williams nodded in agreement. "It's a risk we have to take. We'll keep our eyes open, but we can't ignore the fact that the Drakari have much to offer. If we're going to stop the galactic powers from coming for us again, we need allies." With a reluctant but necessary decision, humanity agreed to open talks with the Drakari Empire. The alliance, however, would not be easy. There was a deep mistrust between the two sides, and many on Earth questioned whether they could truly work together. But in the face of overwhelming odds, they had little choice but to try. A fragile peace. The first meetings between human and Drakari diplomats were tense. Both sides brought decades, if not centuries, of animosity to the table. The humans were wary of the Drakkari's past betrayals, while the Drakkari were skeptical of humanity's ability to hold its own in the galactic power struggle. Common enemy, an empire of galactic powers that sought to destroy humanity. If they were going to survive, they had to unite. But would their alliance hold under the pressure of battle? The first joint military exercise between Earth's fleet and the Drakkari Empire was an important test. Humanity's forces, once small and unrefined, had grown into a formidable force, thanks to the stolen technology and the lessons learned from their previous victories. The Drakkari, on the other hand, had the experience, the training, and the sheer power of their military forces. Together, they were an unstoppable force, or so they hoped. The exercise took place in the outer reaches of the Drakkari Empire, a region known for its hostile environment and treacherous asteroid fields. The objective was simple. Both sides would have to work together to destroy a simulated galactic threat. It was a test of coordination, communication, and trust. As the exercise began, the tension was palpable. The Drakkari ships moved with precision, their advanced weaponry lighting up the void of space. The humans, not used to working alongside such an overwhelming force, were cautious at first. But soon, they found their rhythm. Earth's ships, equipped with their own advanced technology, worked in sync with the Drakkari fleets, demonstrating the value of their innovation. The simulation lasted hours, each minute more intense than the last. Finally, with one final coordinated strike, the enemy forces were destroyed. The exercise was a success, far more successful than anyone had anticipated. Both sides stood in silence as they looked at the results. The humans had proven their worth, and the Drakkari had shown they were capable of working with their new allies. It was a victory for both species, one that brought them closer together. But there was still much to prove. Trust would take time, and the threat from the galaxy's other factions loomed large. The calm before the storm. The alliance between humanity and the Drakkari Empire marked a turning point in the war. Though fragile, the alliance was a powerful statement to the rest of the galaxy. Humanity was not alone. With the combined strength of Earth and the Drakkari, they began to plan their next moves. The galaxy, still reeling from the shocking defeat of their most powerful fleets, was not prepared for the coming storm. The combined forces of humanity and the Drakkari would be a force unlike anything the galaxy had ever seen. The next phase of the war was about to begin, and the galaxy was about to learn just how far humanity would go to protect their future. The stakes had never been higher. The battle for Earth's survival had just taken a new, unexpected turn. The alliance between humanity and the Drakkari Empire had turned the tides of war. It was a surprising turn of events, one that had the galaxy's leaders on edge. The alliance's first victory together had proved that when two forces, once bitter enemies, united against a common threat, their power was unmatched. Yet, as the combined fleet prepared for the next phase of the war, tensions began to rise. The rest of the galaxy could not ignore what had just happened. Humanity, once considered a primitive species, was no longer something to be dismissed. The galaxy had made a grave mistake in underestimating them. And now, the consequences would be far-reaching. The leaders of the galactic factions began to convene in secret, knowing that the war was about to escalate into something much more dangerous. Humanity and the Drakkari had proven their strength, and soon they would set their sights on new territories, ones that had long been held by the galaxy's most powerful empires. The threat was real, and the galaxy had no choice but to prepare for the impending storm. The Drakkari's secret weapon. As the preparations for the next phase of the war unfolded, the Drakkari shared one of their most closely guarded secrets with humanity, an ancient weapon of unimaginable power. It was a relic from the Drakkari's past, a weapon so deadly that its mere existence had been kept hidden for centuries. This weapon, however, was unlike anything humanity had ever seen before. It was a device capable of harnessing the energy of entire stars and converting it into a devastating force that could obliterate fleets with a single shot. The weapon was called the Starfire Array, and it had been created by the Dracari long before the rise of their empire. For years, it had been locked away, its power too dangerous to wield. But now, with the war escalating, the Dracari had no choice but to bring it into play. They knew that in order to stand a chance against the galactic powers, they needed something more than just firepower. They needed a symbol of the terrifying strength they had uncovered together with humanity. Fire Array was undoubtedly a powerful asset. He knew that humanity's greatest strength wasn't in raw power. It was in their ability to adapt, think on their feet, and never back down from a fight. The aftermath of the battle was nothing short of a turning point for the entire galaxy. Humanity, once seen as a small, insignificant species on the edge of the galaxy, had proven themselves to be far more than anyone had imagined. The destruction of the Marnak Dominion fleet was a monumental event, one that would echo through the corridors of galactic history for generations to come. As Earth's forces stood victorious, President Williams and General Thompson stood together, overlooking the battlefield. The sky was clear now, the remnants of the Marnak fleet scattered across the vastness of space, drifting lifelessly like the forgotten remains of a long-dead empire. "We've done it," President Williams said, her voice steady but filled with emotion. "We've proven that humanity is not just a legend. We've shown the galaxy that we can stand tall, even against the greatest forces in the universe." General Thompson nodded, his expression one of quiet pride. But the fight is far from over. The Marnak may have retreated, but they won't forget this. And there are still other empires out there, ones that will test us, ones that will try to take what we've earned. "But we're not alone anymore," Williams replied. "We have the Dracari by our side. And we've shown the galaxy that we're not just a myth. We're real, and we're powerful." The alliance between humanity and the Dracari was stronger than ever. In the wake of the battle, representatives from both factions gathered to discuss the future. Earth, once isolated, was now a central player in galactic politics. The galaxy, once a vast and hostile place, had suddenly shifted. The balance of power had been forever altered, and humanity had claimed a seat at the table. As the discussions began, an unexpected message came through, a communique from the heart of the galaxy. The Federation, an alliance of several powerful galactic empires, had reached out. "We have watched the events unfold, and we are impressed," the message began, its tone formal but laced with an undeniable curiosity. "The Marnak's defeat was not something we expected. We are curious to learn more about this human race. You have proven yourself capable of defending your own. Perhaps it is time to begin discussions on a broader alliance." The message sent shockwaves through the room. For centuries, the Federation had held sway over the galaxy's politics. To have them reach out to humanity, this was unprecedented. General Thompson's eyes narrowed, sensing an opportunity. "This is what we've been waiting for." An alliance with the Federation would solidify our place in the galaxy, ensure our security. But we have to be careful. We're not like the others. We don't bend to anyone. We'll negotiate, but only on our terms. Williams, always the diplomat, gave a thoughtful nod. "It's time for humanity to lead. We'll negotiate, but we will do it on our own terms. We've earned that right." The negotiations with the Federation began in earnest. Earth's representatives stood strong, holding firm to their beliefs, unwilling to bow to the pressures of the galactic elite. They had just fought a war, one that had nearly destroyed them, but they had emerged victorious. They were no longer the underdogs. They had proven that they could not only defend themselves but strike back when pushed. As the days passed, the Federation began to realize that humanity was not a force to be trifled with. They had shown the galaxy their strength, their resilience, and their will to survive. And the Federation, despite their size and power, could not ignore that. The balance of power had shifted, and humanity was now a player in the galaxy's future. For the first time in centuries, The galaxy was on edge. Old alliances were tested, new powers were rising, and no one could predict what would come next. But one thing was certain: humanity had set the stage for a new era, one where they would no longer be seen as weak or insignificant. The human fleet, once outnumbered and outgunned, had become a symbol of defiance, a reminder to the galaxy that no one could stand in their way. And as humanity took their place at the galactic table, they sent a clear message. They were not just a species of myth and legend. They were real, and the galaxy would have to reckon with them. The final war had ended, but the battle for the future of the galaxy was just beginning.